Ladies and gentlemen, it's another episode of Mound Visit. We're coming at you. Baseball is hot in the streets. The second half just started. We're going to do a little second half preview, look back on our predictions from the beginning of the year, and of course, answer your questions here on Mound Visit. Ladies and gentlemen, it is another episode of Mound Visit. Casey Honigbaum alongside the 15-year Major League Baseball veteran and all-star Mr. Jason Grilli.
Yo,
Grilled cheese. Yes, sir.
What's up?
Coming in hot
Case.
on the mic this week.
Always,
yeah, baby.
guy. Always, guy. You know?
That's right. That's right. We are a part of the Believe Podcast Network. Every team, every topic, everywhere. If you like the show, please do us a favor and subscribe to the channel. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, and share the show. It really helps us out. We love interacting with you every single week. And just a reminder, our show brought to you by Sweet Hands Sports. They are a rising name. Batting gloves, golf gloves, hats, whatever you need. They're a local Pittsburgh product. You can use code MOUNDVISIT10 to get 10% off your first purchase today at sweethandsports.com. So, now that we got all that out of the way, there is a lot to get into. We talked a little bit. Baseball, hot in the streets right now. I know you're busy in the travel ball circuit with your son. He's killing it this summer. So, I mean, it's
nice to take a little breather, though. I'm not going to lie. It was a ton. These parents, and I'm one of them, the hemorrhaging for opportunities, hemorrhaging money for competitive baseball, where I go, do we have to really drive this far to get 3 at-bats? Because we have a time limit on baseball now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit silly and funky, but the one I am excited about is my son, my oldest son.
Yeah.
Through COVID, never got to play in Cooperstown, but my youngest is going to be 12 next year, and we got an opportunity to go.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're getting already geared up for that. And speaking of Cooperstown, what a weekend with the panel of Jimmy Leland and the 3 guys. Some former teammates of mine. That
I was just gonna say one in particular, Adrian Beltre. It's got to be really cool to see that for you, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. You get to play with some of these guys and you rub shoulders with them, and they're normal people too. But to see this, the consistency and obviously they well deserved it. But I tell you what, no better than Leland's speech at the very end. That was what you hope to get out of. And he was always emotional when he gave speeches, even to us. 2006 especially, he had a room full of grown men crying along with him because he was so emotional about things, and he would run through brick walls for the guy because he'd find a way to inspire us, made us believe. Yeah. And especially that season in particular, when we lost. We had to win one game against Kansas City to win the division, Central Division, and we got swept by the Royals. They were spoilers. So we wound up, they told us, they jinxed us with saying, just pack your bags just in case. Because if we wound up being the wild card. So we were the wild card.
Right.
We had to fly to New York to play the Yankees. And Leland gave a speech that was unforgettable and basically just said, listen, if we're going to the World Series anyways, we're going to go through all these guys anyways. So let's go beat them and get ready for the World Series.
I love that.
And that was just a good summary about what it was about. But made us believers, and what a time. It was a great way to, albeit we lost in the World Series of the Cardinals, but we were there. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
it's. I mean, this is when that journey starts. The second half, the All-Star break is over. Now it's time. It's the dog days of summer. That stuff really kicks into gear now, and it's really
man. These games matter. Everyone.
Yeah, they really do. They really do, and especially in today's landscape where you have that third wild card team. There's the competition. There is more competition in those spots because there's more spots to play for, and it just usually gets bunched up around this time of the year. And it's interesting to see who's going to pull ahead and things like that. So it's interesting to look at that.
We may not see a lot of trades, as we talked about previously.
Yeah.
Is that everybody's kind of, if you're in that mode where you're just like, I don't think we can make a move because I feel like we're going to get hot, or we already projected our team, and this is kind of where we envisioned ourselves being as we're rebuilding, whatever people structure their organization with prospects and free agency and what have you, keeping those guys on that you build teams with and around. Yeah. And in particular, we were on that Ohtani train pretty hard when he was the subject matter. But
that's right. Last year it was all
Paul Skeens is taking over on all the airwaves. What he's doing, he got his first loss last night, but all these games
threw 8 1/3 and only gave up 2 runs. Got his first loss. Yeah,
incredible. I mean, what a way to lose. But again, this is where I want to shift that feeling, because that sentiment is for every team, not just the Pirates. And the Pirates have played really well, but offensively, that's been the struggle. Like, what are you going to do? And everybody always says you need that extra bat. You can have a pitching staff like we have here in Pittsburgh, and it's a pretty damn good one. But if we're not scoring enough runs to pitch with the leads, you're putting more pressure. And like I said, even on Paul Skeens, who seems like he's going to throw a no-hitter every time he goes out. Got beat because there was a lot of left on base, and they didn't do the little things to make the team have a winning situation last night. But this is what organizations are going through right now in this hunt, in this race. I think there was a 4-way lead for the third wild card going on. And
I think there's a 4-way tie right now. I think the Mets are in that third spot right now because the Padres lost last night. If I'm not, or they won.
That makes
but
you
the
really
Mets
upset about that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, poor Padres. Darn it. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, it's bunched up down there, and it's going to be bunched up down there all year because of what you said. All these teams are kind of hovering around. Do we make the move? Do we just kind of stick where we are? Do we sell? And I think that's kind of what is very interesting about this third wild card spot, because you can kind of I think a lot of teams, like you said, are just going to stay pat. And the frustrating part as like a baseball fan is I don't know if they're staying pat because, we don't want to mess up the mojo in the clubhouse. I think they're probably staying pat because they're like, is this team going to make the World Series? Probably not. I'd rather not spend prospect capital on trying to make this team a World Series contender if if it's not really necessary, I guess. I don't know if that's making a lot of sense. I think that's kind of the way I see a lot of front offices operating right now, but I think that's because of the landscape of the playoffs and the landscape of baseball right now. So,
well, it's funny. It'd be interesting to see at the All-Star break, they have the draft as a part of the All-Star weekend, and wouldn't it be something if they made it, like football, when you're in baseball such a long year, where they're actually able to make trades and trade spots for then and there.
Why can't they do that? Yeah.
Right? That would make the draft a little bit more exciting.
So much more exciting.
If they were trading draft picks for, we're going to make a trade, right, for this playoff run. So who knows what will happen. There's always these changes that are continuing to go on. I think that draft room, when you see people chilling on the couches there, that place would be going insane. Yeah. For things that would be happening on the spot, but who knows?
I feel like we would see more. I feel like in baseball, you would see so many more draft picks traded than you would in like football or basketball or something like that. I just think, football's already crazy enough with the draft. Speaking of that, training camp starting today, crazy stuff going on. But anyways, let's dive in. I wrote down. I was taking a look at our predictions episode that we did way earlier in the year, right on opening day. And honestly, I think both of us are looking pretty solid with some of our playoff teams that we've got here. Going down the divisions, you had Orioles, Twins, Rangers. So you're pretty spot on there. Rangers obviously have taken a step back, but you did have the Astros making the playoffs. The Yankees, we were both kind of wrong on the Rays, who we both had sneaking into the wild card. I think that one's kind of, but I picked the Royals to sneak into the wild card, which I'm very happy about.
Back, though.
They're close. They're close. It's possible. I did have the Guards leading the AL Central, so that
was a good pick by you.
I got that one as a feather in my cap there.
Those guys are dangerous.
Yeah, they are. If they can, here's the thing. So their bullpen, they have the best bullpen in baseball, hands down right now. It's not even close. They're piecing it together on offense. They've got guys who can mash, some under-the-radar guys who've really stepped up. They need maybe one, maybe two starting pitchers, and I think they're a legitimate World Series, like, front runner almost.
Yeah.
So they're going to be an interesting team to watch.
We got 7 days to the deadline, so this week could be pretty crazy.
So I was
60-40 record, 60-40 record coming into it. I don't know what other pieces you can say the team they got there has got them to that point.
Yeah,
with a 600 winning percentage. What's going to get that buzz and that belief to go? We're going all the way, baby. Because this is, like you said, we're approaching the dog days. August, for whatever reason, if it's temperature, if it's just that many games into it, spring training, off-season training, and then you're 100 games into it.
Yeah.
Here we go. I always say, what did I say? 50. You play rough around 500. We're at that 100-game mark.
Yep.
These 62 games is the difference maker. This is the difference maker. So this is when the big nuts come out, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting when you talk about the Guardians. I was looking at kind of the strength of schedule that teams have remaining. The Guardians have the toughest strength of schedule remaining in Major League Baseball right now. So that it's going to be a tough path. So that's kind of why I think grab another pitcher or two. Maybe a couple of those guys from the Rays, if the Rays are willing, because the Rays always make moves at the deadline, where even if they're in contention, where people are like, "What are you doing? Do you want to compete or not?" And then it ends up working out for them. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the AL. The NL, we were both very high on the Braves, as a lot of people were. Obviously, they've been disappointing so far this year. Dodgers, we were spot on that one. You had the Cubs in the Central. That one hasn't worked out as well. I had the Reds. That also hasn't worked out very well. So the NL Central, we kind of both coin tossed that at the beginning of the year and, landed on the wrong side of that coin. Both of us did. So, but we'll see.
Milwaukee's an exciting team, man. That's always an organization. I know as a Pirate, we hated going play there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we sucked during that time we played there. I don't know if they were the cameraman. We always thought the cameraman's tipping signs, with lights and stuff. It was interesting, but
interesting.
That was my favorite town.
So you didn't like seeing you guys, obviously, as the visitors, seeing Bernie Brewer go down the slide. That's not a good sign.
Bernie Brewer is not a good. Great place to go out, have some brats and some beers.
Exactly, right.
Post game, but yeah, I like going to Milwaukee. I like playing there. Good fans there, man. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, So we didn't really give this prediction at the beginning of the year, but I think since we know where the standings are now, it doesn't really make sense to go back through the standings and give that. But let's just give our World Series predictions. We've gotten to see these teams halfway through the year. So putting you on the spot here, what team has stuck out to you that you really believe is going to make a run?
The Phillies, they're tough, and you know what? They come out of pocket too. So I know with Schwarber and Bryce Harper, those guys, just the organization as a whole, right? It's one of the top tier organizations that you sit there and go, who spends the most money? It's just like business and marketing. Whoever spends the most marketing dollars usually has a better chance of winning. So this is no different now. It's like that's why I think baseball fans are just like, oh, we got no shot, but we'll take the cute story, right? We'll take another cute story. I said that the other day on the local radio here. I go, nobody wants to see 1979 swaying around anymore because these young kids who are Paul Skeens fans, this is we want to change that. I wanted to change that when I played. I want to see that here for this town. I want to be a part of a duck boat tour. Even if
that's right.
Cheering with my kids, but I'm a fan now. And in any organization, like you look at some of these teams that are going to go in the run. I don't think anybody had Arizona going last year, really. Did they?
You're absolutely right. No, I don't think many people did.
So there's going to be upsets, just like the NCAA bracket board. Maybe we got to. Now that we can gamble on baseball, maybe we play a little bracket.
That's right. Yeah, once that World Series or once that playoff bracket comes out, you definitely can you can have some fun with that. I think I mean the Phillies are a great pick, and I think it's when you have a rotation like they do with Wheeler and Nola and Suarez, and there's another guy who I'm blanking on, but you need three great pitchers to go through a playoff series, and they've got that. And then when you go through their lineup,
but their
and a bullpen, which they've got, it's been phenomenal.
They've
it's been the problem in the past, but it's been
Yep.
But this year, that's the difference. I think you know what I mean.
Well, sometimes it's getting that experience, man, and
sure.
A lot of guys, when you get there, you clam up and you tighten up.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's why they say you get these experienced players that have been there. And I'll use a former teammate and a guy that was a former World Series MVP, David Freese. He hated the regular season. He goes, Grill. He goes, I love the postseason. He goes, everything just seems bigger, and the stakes are high, and you get that adrenaline rush. And some guys thrive on that because you sit there and you go, whether they chase whatever they're chasing, whatever they're doing to get that adrenaline rush that works for them, and that right mixture of what they quote unquote get high on. It's going to be there.
We've only got, since we just have kind of a shorter episode here today, we got 2 fan questions that I thought were actually really interesting. And it's funny, the first one, we have an interview for our next episode with Tony Barnett, which you're going to absolutely love, and not to spoil it. But part of it is, we talked a lot about team chemistry in that interview. And this was one of these questions kind of has to do with that. So I thought that was interesting. A little teaser for our next Mound Visit 64. You guys are going to love it. So stay tuned for that. But Stephen Lucas on X asked us, or he said, notice something during the home run derby. He said all of Alex Boehm's Philly teammates were there cheering him on for his entire time during the derby. He said, but it was different with Teoscar Hernandez, who won, and his Dodger teammates. So he's saying the Dodgers teammates weren't there the whole time for the home run derby. He asks us, am I reading into nothing, is basically the question. I thought that was very interesting. I didn't really notice that until I went back and watched after that question.
Didn't his former teammate and buddy Vlad Guerrero
gave
him the $100,000 necklace is what I heard.
Did.
It was,
yep,
right?
That's right.
So to that point, it's a wonder why if guys had dinner reservations or stuff like that, it's like that just shows you, again, strength of a clubhouse, strength of friendships and bonds. Reading into anything? Maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because you always talk about this. You're like, look, those teams that are the most successful, and obviously the Dodgers are phenomenal. They're a successful team. They're one of the best teams in baseball. But you say that all the time. You're like, obviously, these teams that are the best in baseball, at the end of the year, when they're pouring the champagne, it's always like we have such a great group of guys. And I'm not saying the Dodgers don't. That might not be how we feel or how they feel. But, I don't know. It was interesting. I'm not going to read too far into it, but
no, it is a wonder, but it's a good observation. You wonder if these side stories or if something happened prior to, or they were just getting ready for the celebration because they knew he was going to win.
Could be that too.
Said, hey guys,
could be that too.
Go win this thing. We're going to go get this thing going, and you just have to show up, and we'll be ready for you when you win this whole thing.
And I wonder too, like, you're right, and I wonder too how much of it is like, you got guys like Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani who have been all-stars before. Maybe they're just kind of like, okay, I've been here before. I know how the home run derby works, and I'm sure it was nothing, like, it's not anything personal.
No,
they know his former teammates, like Vladdy's there cheering him on. They're like, all right, he's got his support. I'm gonna go do my dinner reservation, like you said. I don't know.
Again, we don't know what each individual's gone through. That's not an all-star break. When you make the all-star team, is not a break.
Right.
It's not a break. So picking some time, valuable time, to turn your body off, it's more. There's more chaos. There's more. I've got to be on for this interview. I know when you show up early. There's a million things you have to autograph. It's constant. And I was like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. So I don't blame guys after experiencing the one time I did. I was overwhelmed. Like, I'm not leaving. This is like, but if you've been there several times, you know what you can duck and dodge and go, hey, I need my energy more for this and that and so on and so forth. So I can't blame or read into too much there, but
sure.
I'm just going to say they were getting the party started before he showed up.
I like that. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'll do that one too. Our last question comes from Mike. Mike actually singled me out on this one. I like it here. This is my first one here. So he said, Casey, try to be objective here, but who do you actually think has the better roster between the Yankees and the Mets? It's actually a fitting question.
That's all you. That's all you. Go for it.
So here's the thing. I think on paper, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Yankees don't have the better roster. They definitely do. Any roster that has Aaron Judge and Juan Soto in that lineup, that's a lineup, also a rotation with Cole and Stroman and Rodon and Luis Gil, who's been phenomenal. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Mets have better names or a better roster on paper, because they don't, and their bullpen shows that as well. But what I do think is interesting is at a certain point, your roster on paper doesn't matter if you're not getting the job done. And right now, the Yankees are not getting the job done. I mean, you saw it last night in that first game of the second iteration of the Subway Series this year. It's leaving runners on base. It's not getting the timely hit. It's, guys that you expect to get those timely hits not coming through in those clutch situations. I can say as a Mets fan, I was as shocked as anyone when Jake Diekman struck out Aaron Judge looking on that fastball in the bottom of the ninth. I was shocked, especially after putting Soto on base with a walk. So am I going to sit here and say that the Mets have a better roster? No. But do I think it's a cop-out? But are the Mets the better team right now? I think it's fair to say yes. I think it is. I think they're playing much better. They seem to be playing better together as a team. It just seems like in general they're a looser group. They're having more fun. And if you've made anything clear on this show through all the episodes that we've done, it's very important that that's happening in a major league clubhouse to have success, right?
Oh my God, right? Oh my God.
Exactly.
That's all you gotta say is, oh my God. If you got that kind of energy, man, going on, who's to say, right?
Yeah.
You can't be stopped. You can't be stopped sometimes when you got good momentum, good times, and you bond together, whether it be in the United States and especially, as we just found out, across the seas.
Yeah. Another sneak peek for our next. We're very excited about that. We talked to Tony Barnett, which you guys will get to hear on our next episode, so stay tuned for that. But he talked about playing baseball in Japan, so you'll get to hear a little bit more about that. It's kind of fitting. All of this leads into our conversation with him. It's almost like we set it up that way. Ooh.
Well, look at, man, because look at all the Japanese players, like in recent years, right?
Yeah.
That are coming over here. This game is so global, man. It's so global now. It's extremely hard to make it. It's extremely hard to stay there because the competition is now worldwide, man. It's worldwide.
100%. Yeah, well, let's close out our episode. We haven't done one in a couple weeks here, but I've got a stupid statistic of the week for you guys. And a lot of the times with our stupid statistic of the week, we try and go with, a really cool, eye-popping stat. That's usually a positive thing. I'm just feeling frisky this week. We're going to go with a funny one here. This is not to bash on the White Sox because they've had enough. But their top 12 players in terms of wins above replacement this year. 8th on that list. There's 27 people on a roster, by the way. 8th on the list is a guy by the name of Yohan Moncada, who you all know, sitting at 0.4. So obviously, that's a little low for someone who's 8th on their list already. But okay, maybe he's just, not having a great year. No, he hasn't played since April 9th. And he's their 8th most valuable player.
That's terrible.
So that is stupid.
I mean, what are we trying?
Come on.
Are we trying?
I had to put that in there. I'm sorry to bash on the White Sox fans. I know it's not like a crazy stat, really, but
There's no words. What do you say to that? What do you say? That wasn't even written in. You came up with this. Where did you dig this out of, bro? Come on.
Well, I found it because I was looking up.
Imagine.
I was looking through some of my baseball cards, and I have a Yohan Moncada autograph. And I remember when he was first coming up, through the minors, I was like, oh, this kid's going to be the next coming. Gets traded to the White Sox, had a couple great years back when they were, a competitive team. And I was like, what happened to him? I know he got hurt earlier this year. So I'm looking up, I look at the White Sox, and when you look at them on Baseball Reference, it has the list of their top 12 players based on wins above replacement. And I see him in there, and I'm like, oh, did he come back from the injured list? And then I'm like, no, he hasn't. Oh, he hasn't played since April 9th? Wait, he's 8th on the team in WAR? What the hell is going on here? So that was how I found that. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of things that I stink at, and I'm still trying to know. So I'm sure my WAR is low as well on many levels and topics. Like I used to play saxophone, can't do it anymore. So my WAR is probably real low when it comes to
sax
that.
WAR.
My sax WAR. Not to be mistaken for the other thing with the E. The AR columns. A lot of errors are made, and that's a wrap for this week's Mound Visit. We gotta go on that.
We almost overstayed our welcome here. People, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed episode 63. We hope you subscribe to the show. It would be awesome if you could take a second to rate, review, and share the podcast wherever you get your shows. And tune in because we love talking to you.
Yeah,
so
if you like nonsense, we bring it here. Mound Visit.
Exactly.
Good
We'll
show.
see you next time. That was